Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk in Studio 1A. None other than Cleo Duke-Wright. Good morning, Miss Cleo. How are you?
Fine, Stan. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good.
Oh, I'm so glad. Keep your spirits up.
Wrought with technical problems.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm doing just fine.
Oh, that's good.
I'm doing fine. How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. It was pretty good. Did a lot of church stuff and the men made us breakfast on Saturday morning.
Men's breakfast.
No, the men made the women breakfast.
Oh, Men made the women breakfast.
Oh, yes. They served us in these beautiful teacups, and it was a beautiful, beautiful breakfast. However, I ate, and I was, happy, and all of a sudden I didn't feel so good, and I wondered what was going on, and so I said, what in the world is the matter? So I asked one of the guys, I said, well, what'd you put in the eggs?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, they put a little cream and I said, cream?
Cream?
Yeah, they put a little half and half, and they were really fluffy and had cheese in them and everything, but my stomach can't deal with cream.
Ew.
So it took me out for the rest of the day. I couldn't do anything. I would help. Just drained me, and I went and I slept until 11 o'clock at night.
Oh.
It tasted good going out, but it just emptied me out.
Wow.
And I said, oh my goodness. And so the pastor said, you got to tell me about these food things, because some people he made eggs differently for. But who would know they put cream in the eggs? I would never even thought of that. I never
If I knew you guys were gonna poison me, I would have told you to hold back on the arsenic.
So, but we had a very good time, and Sunday was Native American Sunday. And so we hadn't planned anything, and one of the women had pictures of famous Native Americans, and so I said, hey everybody, let's take one and just tell about each person. Look them up, blah, 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 blah. Cleo, she's going to jump up there. And so we told about the American Indian, our Native American in church, and one that created language. And Geronimo. Geronimo became a Christian? I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
In prison, he became a Christian. So it was a very interesting history on these famous men. Extremely smart and intelligent. They did things long before. Sometimes you think, we're the United States. We do everything. At least I used to think so. Ahead of everyone else. Of course, I don't think that now, but what the Native American has given us, we never talk about, and we've copied, like we always do, copy so much from them, and learn so much from them, and use it in our government. They had Hiawatha got 6 Native American nations together, and they created the Iroquois, some kind of document that we use in some of the things that in our government we use took from this document. So it's nice to know that.
Indigenous people of the United States and other areas around the world.
Yeah, it's you just widen yourself. I had a conversation with my sister, I think it was yesterday, and she was saying, now I know, she's reading this book about the United States. Now I know why different parts of the United States think differently. We're not all the same. But the East Coast, they're the most vocal and they're ready to get up and fight for their rights and all of this stuff. Where in Pennsylvania, there were the Quakers, those are very peaceful people.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna. They don't like violence. And, so she says, now I understand. Then she went to the Midwest. The East Coast kind of goes down into some of the other areas of the country. But she was just telling me how, and Appalachia and all of those things, why they think differently. We don't all think alike. So it's really not like one United States.
Well, I think there's that's an interesting comment. Like not one United. There's one United States, but there are 50 different states in the United States. So there's a multitude of people from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of cultures, all kinds of histories, all kinds of likes, dislikes. There's much disagreement among the different groups that make up the United States. So, it's the old, as they say, melting pot.
It's in some parts of the country don't like government messing with them in their business. They want to do things their way. And then there's other parts, who accept everything the government has to give them, but other parts say, no, I don't want you in here. You're not going to control here, blah, 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 blah. And of course, we've heard that all our lives in some respects, but I never really thought about it a lot. But now I said, wow, I might get that book. Of course, I didn't write it down, so. But she's doing a lot of reading. And she thought this was very interesting. So, she talked to me for about an hour or so about different parts of the United States and why things are like they are, why people think the way they think, and how they were brought up and all of that, and what they think of government. And everybody doesn't think of government the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah. Even on local scenes, and even within small, I'll say like small groups, like churches, there's different people have different views of scripture, different views of government. Connecticut, with 169 towns, each town has its own autonomy, its own charter. Each state has its own constitution, and so it's kind of like a federation. So people say, we're one country. Well, we're a united federation of a whole lot of mindsets, but that does not mean that we are all thinking. Now, if you attack the country for the common good of the whole, people will generally come together to defend it. But as soon as they feel safe, they go back to defending their little micro areas.
Yeah. You saw that in the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
when we became one country, and we just, everybody was just so nice to everybody else. I couldn't believe how nice we were to each other.
Yeah.
And then it went back.
Yeah, we were nice because we had a common enemy.
Yes.
And a need to come together to defend ourselves from our common enemy. But that didn't remove the fact that many people are enemies of one another.
Wow. It in my head, it's very in my head, it's very complicated. I'm saying, my gosh, how did we ever stay together for 200 years?
Mm-hmm.
For 200 years being the United States, and probably why a lot of people think that Trump
Mm-hmm.
can just take it all apart, because we really aren't one-minded.
Right. We're not.
So he could just take, or anyone, not only Trump, he could just take one part of the country or one mindset and play on that and
Well, that's a good. I mean,
kind of.
I don't necessarily think that he plays on it. I think there's a false notion that we are united, and that, I won't say lie, but that narrative has been pushed for so long that it has become the accepted norm. However, there are large groups of people who know that that is just not true. African Americans among them. Because the historical reality is that African Americans were not treated as part of the country. They may be so more now, but historically the relationship is not a good one. And you had Chinese immigrants interned, you have the Native Americans. You have every group within the country has suffered some sort of prejudice, isolation, subjugation. So the United States is not, not a homogenous or a singular people, like say Sweden or or something like that, or an African tribe. It's many different tribes, many different peoples, and then when their wants, needs, aspirations, and desires conflict with one another, it creates tension. So I said all that to say that Trump is a manifestation of a whole lot of people who agree with him, more than he is using these people. The people are generally, he is an outward growth of them. So these people have been very quiet.
He didn't create them, but they've always been there, and he's talking up.
Right. He didn't create them. They created him. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand. They're like, well, how come we can't bring, because he's the manifestation of other folks. They're not the manifestation of him. They're putting their energy behind him because he is articulating their points of view. And he articulates the points of view of a whole lot of people, not just white, racist, bigoted people, which I think to the peril of those who don't like Trump and try to find a way to separate Trump from, I guess, people, to just paint him strictly as a racist is not a wise course of action. Is there's a whole lot of, I talk to them, I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of black folks that support Trump on the down low, that not going to come out and tell you up front, not because he's, not because they embrace the racist, bigoted narrative that many believe he promotes, but because they see something in him that they can identify with. If you see something in somebody you can identify with, then you will support them. And that's how he is growing. That's how he's being supported. And people just don't understand it because they can't understand how anyone can like him. They believe that he must be manipulating them. Not the case at all. In my opinion, not the case at all.
When people say, let's take back America,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I didn't understand. I said, what are they talking about? You know, so all I could think of, they must be talking about slavery. But it's got to be more than that. I mean, I said, what are they talking? I say, I don't know what they're talking about. What do they mean?
Well, they talk about take back America.
What's that? What does take back America mean?
Take back America is a very broad term that means many things to many different people. So it's a great term because it doesn't mean anything. It means whatever the person wants it to mean. So it depends on what group you're talking about. Because the only group that who could conceivably justify that statement would be the Native Americans, who never referred to it as America. So, you know, when they say take back America, they're not talking about the native land that was here. They're talking about an ideology of quote unquote Christianization of America, where there is this Ozzie and Harriet type 50s feel of what America was when people believed in America, American exceptionalism.
It was so
and
nice
all
and
those
simple
things.
then.
And it was simple, and you could believe in Camelot and the Kennedys were gonna, you know, and all that's gone. It's good because time has evolved. So you have this nostalgia for the return to a simpler time, but the time exists. The time that exists now, believe it or not, is an outgrowth of that time. So, I mean, if that time was so great and that time was so precious, it would still be happening. But the fact of the matter is, it's not happening. And people are seeing things change. This is an evolution. You know, once upon a time, England ruled. France ruled. I'm sure there was angst and when their empire started to collapse. You're watching the collapse of the American empire. And there's a shift. People are shifting, and they no longer embrace a lot of those. People don't go to church anymore.
They're empty.
Churches are empty because those systems fail to deliver what it was they were talking about and preaching to the next generation that was coming up. The generations that come after don't buy in to the narrative that was being promoted. So if you see what's being promoted, you hear what's being promoted, but you see something different. And at some point, everyone starts to make value judgments. Do I want to believe in that lie? So in my opinion, the racism, the bigotry became politically incorrect and socially unacceptable to demonstrate. So it went underground. It didn't go anywhere. It just went underground. Then you get someone who comes along and makes you feel comfortable to actually speak your mind. And now it comes out. And then you have young people who would sit around, listen to their parents talk about, you know, I've been to more black folk Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners where everyone in the household and around the table is talking about white folks like you wouldn't, like the worst thing on the planet. And you go into white households, they talk about black folks. You go the Spanish. I mean, everybody's talking about one another, but they don't do it out in public because that's how they really feel. When they get comfortable enough to talk about how they really feel around folks, but then they go out. But the kids see the hypocrisy. And so the children don't buy into that when they get of age to make their own decisions. They start becoming 20, 18, 20, 21, 24. They don't go to church because they see church as being hypocritical. And it doesn't take long. 20 years goes by very quick. Schools stop teaching certain things, and there's a new way of thinking. And now that's become the norm. So this idea of taking America back is a nice notion, but America has changed forever. It's not going back. The question is, where is America going, and what do you want that to look like? And the only way to make that happen is through active participation in the process and the governance. And people are, they're hands off. And that, to me, is what lays the seeds for strong personality-driven dictatorial type leadership on all levels. Because people aren't engaged. So if you really want to take back...
They don't know how dangerous that is.
They have no idea, but they're about to find out.
Yeah, we're all going to find out.
Yeah. Pray. That's the only thing I can say. Prayer works, and those that believe in it better start doing. Because in one day the sun was shining and it was a nice time to be in Palestine. The next day it's not. It was nice to be in Haiti, and now it's not. The Sudan, and now it's not. Ukraine, and now it's not. Russia, now it's not. You're watching these things collapse all around, and people are sticking their head in the sand instead of getting actively engaged and involved. They complain, but they don't put forth an effort to make a serious change or even maintain what we have. Complaining won't change it. Folk got to put their hands in the soil. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I kind of was telling my sister yesterday. I'm saying, your name and the people who respect you are still out there, waiting for you to come.
Right.
And where are you? Well, I'm doing this. I said, I said, I hear your name all the time. And I said, and where are you? Yeah, she used to go up to the legislature, and she used to tell those people, and she was always there, and she was out. I said, maybe it's not going to be the same way, but you need to get out. Because that's, I just think that's almost criminal. That seniors with so much to give actually think they have the right to retire and do nothing and waste all that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's terrible.
It's criminal.
Because if anybody could change what's happening or open people's eyes, it's the seniors. Because the young people are learning. Mm-hmm. And they're making their judgment calls. And the seniors need to be out there talking and teaching and showing young people. But in retirement, there are some, I know some wonderful teachers who loved teaching and even retirement, talk about their children all the time, this one and that one and this one. And yet they sit in their houses. You can't do that. To me, you need to go out there and still contribute something, not maybe an 8-hour day or a 6.5-hour day, whatever they worked. But they need to be out there sharing what they know.
Absolutely. Senior centers and quote unquote old folks' homes are paragons of wisdom and knowledge.
Absolutely.
There's the collective knowledge is in those buildings. So people talk about the knowledge gap. Well, when people, it's as though all the senior staff and senior employees at a company all quit one day.
Yeah,
and now, who knows where anything is, or how it runs, or how it functions, or the institutional wisdom that makes it, that has brought it to where it actually is right now. Once that goes, it's like your car breaks down and someone took the repair manual with them, with all of the notes and secret ways of
And
fixing
they'll have
stuff.
to dig up the Dead Sea Scrolls or 2,000 years from now. Oh, look what they did then.
Oh, that's how they did it. Like, I wonder how they got these, multi-ton bricks down here in the sand. Someone knows. Just you don't know, and you don't know where it's written down. It's written down somewhere. It was done.
That's right.
So, it's criminal when people that have wisdom don't share it. It's criminal when people who know how things work won't tell someone. They watch it deteriorate and break down and fail rather than to speak up. So if you know something works and you know how to make it work and to not lend that wisdom and knowledge.
Yes, they have all these different systems. How did they teach me how to read? How did they teach you how to read? We didn't have all that, and we could read. My minister was going through the Bible yesterday, and he was searching and searching and searching. We're looking at him and said, well, maybe he can't find what he's preaching at. He's looking and looking. He said, I was looking through the scriptures, and nowhere could I find where it says a person retires. Where's the retirement book in the Bible?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's what he says. There's no retirement.
No.
There's no retirement. Mm-mm. So, and most of the seniors I know went to church.
People ask me from time to time, they say, so are you still pastoring? And all I could do is smile. I said, well, I said, don't take this the wrong way, but God is sort of like the clandestine services and the mob. You don't retire. They retire you.
That's right.
And you really don't want them to retire you. And when God is ready for you to retire, you'll be gone. You'll be dead. He calls you home. That's when you retire. When you can no longer do. But if you wake up and have breath, it's required upon you to be diligent and at work. There's no day off. And we have this notion that we can just relax. And when you do, this is what you get. This is what you get. It would be no different than if somebody was flying a plane across the ocean and the pilot said, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I quit. How about jump out the plane with my parachute, or you're on a ship and the crew says, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to retire, effective immediately. When the wisdom of the elders retires, you're doomed. You're doomed. You talk to young people who are in crisis, and there's a program, and you'll hear a lot of the young people, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about what I'm about to say, who are young, who are individuals who work in programs for youth. And one of the things that is critical is when the youth realize you're only here for the money and you don't really care about them, they tune out. Do you care enough to correct them when they're wrong?
Yes.
Because you'll hear kids say to one another, their parents let them do whatever they want. If they loved you, they wouldn't let you get away with that. I mean, children are always looking for where is the limit. And it goes from childhood into adulthood. Because adults are always pushing the limits. And if you think you can get away with it, they will. Until finally you have absolute chaos. And, the best check on chaos is wisdom. And where's the wisdom? Sitting up in a retirement home or a center playing checkers instead of making a profound difference.
And talking about young people, look at that child. Don't he know better than that? Blah, 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 blah. You could just go up to him and say,
Right.
Hey, that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not. Even if they yell at you, because I've been yelled at. Even if they yell at you, sometimes they even swear a little. But you need to tell them. That does not look good. That is not going to work. This is not the way to live. You know, sometimes they listen. They come up to you and say, thank you for that advice you gave me 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they listen. But we need to say it anyway. Whatever it is, we need to say it. Yeah. Even if they don't listen, we just keep saying it.
It may be aggravating to see people step on the gas when you're standing on the highway, waving your hands, yelling at the top of your lungs that the bridge is out. But at least you tried.
Mm-hmm.
Someone might stop.
Someone might stop.
But woe to them who have no one to warn them. They just drive off the edge of off the edge of the bridge. Someone has to be a voice of reason. Someone has to be a guardrail. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to listen to you. It doesn't mean they have to. But gee whiz, if I would like someone to tell me when I'm wrong. Don't just let me continue. That doesn't make any sense. Hey.
Yep.
Yeah. So all you seniors out there, get back to work.
Get back to that. So she says, okay, you know how my sister talks. Okay, Cleo. I'm gonna do this, and then I think about what you said, because maybe I will go do something. So you might see her around,
that's good. She's got lots of wisdom.
Yeah. She was talking about the records that she has.
Mm-hmm.
She's talking about some of the records that she has, and she was laughing because I guess we had an event or we had something, and she says, I have this seating chart that has where everybody was seated on that day and what we did, and that delighted her so much to see that. And she said, I remember just like it was yesterday when we all did that. And I think that, she just needs, especially us who've been around in African American Alliance for a while, and people who remember African American Alliance, need to remember some of those things too. Remember when we did this?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when so-and-so came and we did this? Were you there the day? Did you remember the day that the police chief came in to speak to us? When he came in, I guess he was jogging or something, and he came in his shirt.
Which chief? Daryl?
Couple of chiefs ago. I don't know which chief. He retired. It was one that he worked for. He was a state policeman maybe, and then now he became the police chief. I don't know how many years ago that was. And he was jogging, and he came into the African American Alliance like that, all sweaty and and my sister come, because he knew he was supposed to come and speak to us. My sister got up and said, what are you doing? You came here to speak to us like that? You're not prepared? That's how you came in? She just went off on this man.
Don't come here looking like you just jogged up, like we have a second thought on your mind.
Yeah. And that's what she said to him. And oh my God. I said, I'm sitting there saying, Ines, what are you doing? I'm saying to myself, but she let him have it. That it was scheduled, it was planned, and so we expected him to come in like a police chief.
Unless your car broke down and you jogged here to talk to us, we expected you look a little bit more professional.
Yeah, that's what. She really let him have it. But next time, he did come. I forget what his name. He was dressed in the
in uniform.
In uniform.
Put on your dress white.
Now, I would have sat there and just listened to him. I wouldn't have thought anything of that. I would have just sat there and listened to him. You know, that's the police chief, and he came, you know, in a relaxed manner. But my sister did not accept that. He said, would you come and talk to so-and-so and so-and-so group like that? Would you do this blah, blah, blah like that? How come you coming in here like that? You know, but not until she spoke did I
really
think anything about it. I didn't think anything about it. She did.
All right.
So there's, you know.
Well, we're out of time. We got a late start this morning because we had some serious communication issues with the computers not wanting to talk to each other. And it was a new problem. And so that took me a while to figure it out. I think it was a driver at the end of the day, but I don't know for sure. So I have to figure that out after we get off the air. But our segment here is ended. Jonathan Small will be in a hot minute. So we'll... Miss Cleo, got anything planned for the week?
Not really. I'm just coming off a vacation. I'm feeling good and I'm feeling rested. So I'm hoping that the weekend is going to be very pleasant.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by. Folks, stick and stay. We will be right back with Jonathan Small. Talk about what's going on in the city. Don't go anywhere. Holy Spirit Consciousness is the name of this this piece. Music maestro, professor, musical genius extraordinaire Jay Hogarth. This is on vibraphones. All right, Jonathan Small's in the house. How you doing, Jonathan?
Doing fine, Stan. It's a pleasure to be back here again.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice day.
Yeah, seems like you were just here.
Yeah, the week goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It seems like, but I mean, it seems like you were here like yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. No, that wasn't the case, but it just seems like that.
It just seems like it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it seemed like saying it seemed just like yesterday, and it wasn't yesterday that I was here, but it seems like that. That's how life could be sometimes. Seems just like yesterday. But
get your taxes done.
Oh yeah, I've been had that done.
All right.
I don't want to fool around with the IRS.
Yeah.
So took care of that a couple of months ago. I know what today is the 16th. So if you didn't do it last night, 11.
Yeah, you're late.
You're late.
Late. Unless you file for getting an extension or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of careless on a few things. I got to get my car registration done. Still haven't done the emission, but IRS, you don't fool around with that.
Yeah.
And something that's the government tax and everything. But
you're behind on your money, and we want to talk to you.
Yeah, that might be the least of your worries. You don't want no jail time.
You gotta do a lot to go to jail. But they will come and they'll do a tax. I want to say a tax warrant. I don't know how. They'll serve your employer with a tax thing, a wage garnishment. They'll garnish your wage. I had that happen to me.
Oh, you did?
Oh
yeah. Man.
Yeah, they left me with 25% of my income. That's how I got out of debt.
Oh, so you just chose not to pay your taxes? And
No. I think what triggered them was the year I wrote on the outside of the envelope, broke this year, sorry.
Okay. Oh, man.
And that was the year that my boss said, I just got a thing from the IRS that demands that we send them 75% of your take-home pay.
Well, that's a lot of money to be taken out of your pay.
Every paycheck until it was caught up, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Well, hopefully it didn't last that long. Hopefully it wasn't no whole year.
It was a little bit of a time. I want to
time.
almost say that it was like, if it wasn't a year, it was almost a year.
Boy.
And you know what? We survived.
Yeah,
then what I did is I took that 75% after they were done and paid bills until they were all done.
Yeah.
And then after that, I've been out of debt ever since.
Yeah. You need to, well, it's a little late now, but you should have been prepared. And I guess Dave Ramsey is like a financial expert.
I'm debt free.
Yeah. He doesn't believe in debt. That's one thing about Dave Ramsey.
Debt is the most. It's crippling. People worry. They have anxiety. You're paying for stuff you can't afford. That's why you're in debt.
Right.
You can't afford it. It doesn't. But well, I want it. I deserve it. I don't have Mount the Hill of Beans. You can't afford it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in debt. Now, some things you take out debt. I mean, sometimes long-term payment. But if you pay cash, that's always the best. Pay for it in full.
Yeah.
That means you can afford it.
Probably the only thing might be difficult is to buy a house in cash.
It could be, but there are ways you can put significant amount of money down.
Yeah, that's true.
Because remember, if you're debt free, then the money that you make, you can save. You can save money. People, they're addicted to consumption.
Yeah. Well, save and invest too.
And invest. Yes, wise investment pays off. You're not going to get rich by saving.
So
you get rich by wise investing.
You think the stock market is still the best way? Some people don't buy into the stock. It's a risk factor, the stock market.
It depends on what you're investing in. It's not the market. The problem isn't the market. The problem is you're not investing in the right companies.
Well, Apple, I think, is the number one company, I believe. Apple, it's a good stock to invest in, they claim, Apple stock.
I have no investments.
Yeah, but if you was considering or looking to invest,
I would do my due diligence. I'd look at all of the, who's running the company, what their vision is, what the resources are, assets, what their, long-term plans are. It's not, I don't believe in gambling. I want to know. I want to know what the outcome is.
Yeah. That's why you were saying the last time is you got to know what you're doing when you get involved in the stock market.
Yeah, and you can know. You can know. You just do the research.
But it betters the odds of you knowing what you're doing and just saying, I got a lot of money, I just want to invest it in some particular stock.
Yeah.
But you don't know for sure if this is the right stock.
Stock, paintings, art, jewelry. When you have lots of money, you have a lot of problems because you got to figure out what to do with all that money.
Yeah.
Land, buildings. Maybe you want to put some of your money in a downtown office building. I'm being facetious.
Well, I mean, I know the bank isn't the best place sometimes to put your money in. They claim the interest that they give you, but at least it's only
it's secure, and you do get something.
Yeah, but
it's
only
better than putting it in your mattress.
Oh, you never do that. Never do that.
Right.
I mean, I keep a little bit of cash, on me, but most of it is 99% of it is going to be in the bank and some other account until you know what to really do with it. It doesn't take.
Put it in trash bags, bury it in the back, and spend a week watching it to make sure no one saw you bury it, and at that point you feel safe enough to go dig it up and put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
and start the process over and over again because you can't put it in the bank. So it's like how do you clean up that money?
Yeah. Well, usually if you're doing something illegal, it's hard to put your money into the bank.
Yeah, a little drug dealing.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah.
Where did you get $200,000 from?
Right, or embezzlement.
Embezzlement, yeah.
A little plundering.
Everything. Yeah.
So you had something you wanted to talk about.
Well, definitely. I mean, I looked at the article this morning about city employees for Hartford, how much they're earning, and mostly what city police officers and firefighters or people who work for the fire. I guess the city in general, there's a amount of salary positions that they have, very lucrative salaries. I looked at one captain, I think, made $270,000.
Working
overtime, but there were some base salaries too that was very solid too.
You can't, don't muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth the corn. I don't begrudge the city employees how much they make, or state employees. Some people do because they have to have someone to pick on. But if they were working there, they'd want the money.
Yeah. Well, I just was wondering, do people know that these are good occupations that pay well? People talk about so much times, so many times, you need a college degree. Maybe some of these positions do require some additional training. Might be college, might be, I guess, on-the-job training to be a police officer. You got to go through the police academy. But I guess they're looking nowadays for people even with a bachelor's degree to be a police officer. Although with the shortage in the Hartford level, you think you have to take anything you can get, and as long as you pass the basic requirements. But you talk about we need people look at occupations that pay big money, software engineers, but you got city employees. I don't know the difficulties that it takes to get a good city paying job, but if there's a shortage of police officers in the city of Hartford, it would stand to reason that as long as you meet, you don't have any criminal records, they're going to be still strict on the criteria. The only thing you saying, and I can say it too, I don't envy anybody or I don't grudge anybody for what they earn.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a city employee and let's say I'm a sanitation worker and I'm at the bottom, I know that's the low end of the spectrum. You know, obviously you can't expect to make 6 figures. But if I'm struggling, working hard every single day, and you know, I don't know what they make, but let's just say what, 35,000 for, I'm not talking about the driver, let's just say the 2 people that's on the truck. So you're a sanitation worker, one of the, you know, dirtiest jobs or smelliest jobs, and outside in the cold, you know, trash and everything, dogs could come after you, anything is possible. And I'm doing all this every year, and I'm making 35,000. And then I hear some law enforcement officer for the city, some of their base salaries was 6 figures, not just the overtime. I gotta start to scratch my head and say maybe I'm in the wrong job.
Well, I think that's I think that's a fair response. So you go to the police academy.
Yeah,
That's all. I think that's very fair. If you think someone else is making the kind of money you would like to make, then apply for that job.
right.
Because it's the you know, if there's a lot of people who can do the job and you can get them anywhere, anytime, then the job, what the job pays, diminish.
Right.
The jobs that pay a lot are the jobs that you can't find a whole lot of people to do. And if you're very specialized, then you can charge an extremely high amount of money. So everyone's not a brain surgeon. So brain surgery is expensive because you want someone who's good and the best. And you also have to pay wages that are going to attract the kind of people that you want. You know, so if you have a police officer in Hartford can make more money in a surrounding suburb with less stress, then that person more than likely will go to the suburbs. You see what I'm saying? But, you know, government does not pay like the private sector. In the private sector, you know, if you want private sector quality employees, then you almost have to pay private sector wages. That's, I guess, what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that argument you just said about, you know, law enforcement officers in the city of Hartford not making as much as the surrounding towns, I really would like to know what the surrounding towns' base pay would be, because if I have a hard time pitching making more than 200,000+. I mean, it has to be.
They're not making 200,000+. He's working overtime. That's not the same thing as your base pay.
But the base pay, there were some people, some police officers base pay that were in the 6 figures. You know, I don't know if you have the article in front of you, but there were some salary or very close to 100,000.
They have to be command staff.
So not a regular officer would maybe making 100,000.
Right, command staff in a major city, minor city, is not going to make what a command staff in a small suburban town makes.
So the small suburban town is going to pay less, or they're going to pay more?
For command staff, because what are they? They don't have the same pressures and trials and tribulations and the political ramifications and the interactions with union. They don't have 300 employees that they have to interface with. It's a small town, small. It's the burden and responsibility of managing that system is not the same. But for the average officer, they make more money.
So the average officer in West Hartford makes more money than the average officer in Hartford.
I can't answer that question.
But you just said the surrounding town, so that's
suburban towns.
Well, that is West Hartford.
You asked me specifically about West Hartford.
Okay.
I can't speak to West Hartford because I don't know.
You don't know, okay.
Right. Obviously we could find out. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, if you can't expect as a sanitation worker your salary to go up, the way you would like it to go up because you hear about, police officers and firefighters.
Right, that's not
how it
salaries aren't based on comparative external comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
They're based on this is the job. We have a whole lot of people who can do this job,
mm-hmm.
who would be willing to do this job.
Yeah.
And if you quit tonight, we will replace you tomorrow.
Right.
And we don't really need to train you a whole lot. That's not to say that the job is unnecessary. Let them go on strike for a week and you'll see how necessary they are.
Yeah.
All right. They should be paid a fair wage for the job that they do. But they shouldn't be paid the same amount as someone else who, when they go to work, may not come home tonight.
Danger of the job, yeah.
Whose lifespan on the job is limited.
Mm-hmm.
One may be limited because of the carcinogens and the disease factor that could happen, but the other could get shot to death.
And that's happening.
The other could go into a burning building and it collapse. If they make a mistake, people die.
Right.
You don't pick up a trash run in this inconvenience. All right. They make a mistake and shoot the wrong person. Under pressure, don't provide the necessary protection, and the criminal shoots half the room.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that you have to know, and there are a lot of responsibilities. So commensurate with that level of responsibility and duty, you are compensated for.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those jobs has a cap. When you reach that cap, it's time for you to think about a different career.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else and work. Get a different type of job. You move up in the ranks. If you can't move up in the ranks, then you move and go somewhere else where your services are better appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So people leave. And
well, the whole point is, again, city and state government jobs are you're supposed to have job security because you have a union to protect you. So
for the time being,
you don't buy into, and then you're supposed to be able to get good benefits, paid time off, paid vacation, sick time. So the goal is a state job or a city government job or a federal government job is a good job. It has a tremendous amount of pros to it. There's some cons too, like anything, but there's certainly some good benefits. And you can't, like you say, skill level, what the requirements consist of to become a police officer is different than a sanitation worker.
Very
different. You don't have to go through no training academy to become a sanitation worker.
Well, I wouldn't know about that. I wouldn't necessarily say that. There are dangers in sanitation. There's you need to know what you're doing, but it's not the same level of
a police officer.
It's not the same. Right.
So you think, does this affect the city budget when you have these high salaries? Does it affect? I mean, I guess you have to operate your city under a certain budget.
Every department has an operating cost in the budgets. That's what the budget is. And so, if you're going to give people a raise, yes, it affects the budget because the city now needs more money. And so where does it get the money from? It gets the money from the taxpayers. If the taxpayers are poor and can't contribute, then your city cannot afford the services that it wants.
And I'm glad you just said about being poor, because I wasn't thinking about that, but I actually was thinking about it before I came here. I always talk about the city has a tremendous high poverty problem, and I don't know if the majority of these officers and people that work for the city, if you have to live in the city.
You do not.
You do not. So that answers that question.
We need more people who live in the city to be police officers. That happens when city residents apply to become law enforcement officers. Right. You can't expect them to treat you like a neighbor when your neighbors won't volunteer to do the work. And I don't mean unpaid. They want to become protectors and heroes in your community. Mm-hmm. And so the community needs to fight to encourage their neighbors and friends and relatives and residents to become police officers. It's a very, very honorable job.
But I would even take it a step further. Just look at city employees, city government.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the bigger picture.
Last I heard, Harvard had 300 openings in the city. Let me rephrase that. 300 positions that aren't filled.
Okay. Because I checked the website and I don't always see 300.
You don't explore the depths of every job available. Right. And everything may not be on the forward-facing website.
Right. Okay. But it's 300, you're saying, job.
Last I heard, there are 300 positions available.
And Hartford is 100 police officers short, too?
About that.
So that would be included in the 300.
Well, positions, and that's why I said positions available, but it doesn't mean that the funding is there for them.
Okay.
But the need for them to be there is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people confuse the number of police with over-policing. But police, you have to have a number of people to do the job, because people take vacations, they get sick, they have emergency days where they stay home with their families. There are operations that require more manpower than others. The public safety is a very encompassing undertaking. It's more than just a cop on the street. It's keeping the city safe. Mm-hmm. So there's many different divisions within the police department, intelligence, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And then again, some of the occupations, like I know the mayor was making $189,000. I don't know if the mayor has an increase since then.
The mayor should make that.
Make that.
He's running this city.
Right. And the COO officer,
Chief Operating Officer,
yes, was making six figures too, close to $200,000.
Right, also running the city.
So that's a very important position.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because if you don't have good leadership, it doesn't matter who you have. See, I don't mind staff making whatever they can, whatever the market bears, or whatever they can contractually agree to. I don't have a problem.
Right.
I have a problem when they get paid and don't do the job.
Won't do the job, okay.
And a lot of times they don't do the job because they don't have good leadership. So if staff isn't doing the job, that's less a staff problem and more a leadership problem.
Okay.
So the people who run things have to be held accountable. So the leadership from here to here to here. The leading is a job. We have a lot of people who don't want to be leaders; they want to be managers. Right. And a manager and a leader are two different things. So we need people who can lead and manage and then do it well. So if you have a dysfunctional staff, dysfunctional workforce, that is because you have dysfunctional staff and leadership. Mm-hmm. I'm tough on those kinds of people.
Right.
They shouldn't be allowed to breathe.
Yeah. So you just want them to do
the air of the room that they're in.
Okay, right.
We're not talking about killing them, but
right.
They need to be unceremoniously exited from the workplace. There's others that think you should spend time giving them job coaches and all that. So if you come here and don't know how to do the job, I ain't getting a coach for you. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be here.
Right.
We got to train you. Well, you train staff, but leadership should be prepared to do the job when they get there. Mm-hmm. So within reason.
Yeah. I mean, those are important factors. And the thing about, I started paying attention to this actually maybe a year or so ago about maybe even a few years ago, state government jobs first, because I was always under the assumption that the pay go up higher from state to the federal, but some city employees make more than state employees.
Just because it's federal or state doesn't mean you make more. It's just a different operation.
Right, exactly.
So you might wind up actually making less.
That's true.
It depends on where you are, what state, what town you're in, what area of government you're in. Just like manufacturing aircraft. Mm-hmm. Some companies pay more than others. And within the company, some roles and some responsibilities differ. So, what do you do in the company, but you'll be compensated for your effort.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing is, I don't know if your school systems are telling students, look at city and state. I know when I was going to high school, nobody was telling us about city and state government jobs as a career choice. So I think if you're knowing and learning and being prepared, it would definitely carry a lot of weight towards your future.
Yeah, well, historically, schools prepared you for the work that was most needed in that community. So, back when they had, industrial, like making gauges and widgets, you had industrial arts in schools so that you could learn how to operate machines like a lathe and drills and, designing things and sheet metal and wood shop. All those things prepared you for the factory jobs that were around the school at that time.
Right.
As those jobs diminished, there was no need to prepare a workforce for those things. Nowadays, there's less of a need for workforce because of technology. And so what are you preparing the young people for? Prison?
Yeah. Well, I just looked at an article. Even the air traffic controllers, I guess the FAA is looking to hire, and they're understaffed a certain amount of air traffic controllers.
Yeah. I mean, these are the kinds of jobs that, we don't need thousands and thousands of air traffic controllers. As people retire, they will need them. They'll get them, because it's you'll find those people. But when you hear about those things, you tell your friends and family, you tell your church, synagogues, mosques, leadership that these are jobs that you may want to go and apply for. And there's people who have the aptitude to go and apply for them now, not in the 5th grade, go to school for it. And then when you graduate, you become an air traffic controller. They're looking for people right now.
And it's paid training too. So
right.
You don't have to come out of this is the difference between comparing what a college education value is worth comparable to some occupations. Not to knock college and not to say that, okay, there's certain occupations graduating with a master's degree that's going to be lucrative and, something that you are looking to do. But if you're not college material, and even an air traffic controller, I would assume you have to know a lot about math and science because you're dealing with.
There's all kinds of things you have to be. I guess math and science will help you, but it's a high stress job. You have to have the aptitude. I don't know what the prerequisites for the job are. They're easily found. Just go online and look for them. But if you have what it takes, I would highly suggest that people apply. They should be scouring the internet. What do they have? Like LinkedIn, and they have these job search sites. And look for what's out there. A lot of companies are training staff because they need people, and then people are very hard to find.
And this might be the best and only way to really eradicate poverty if you really sit back and take a look at it. If you are poor and you don't earn enough income, would you say this is one of the better?
I think this is a way for individuals to move out of poverty.
Okay.
Eradicating poverty is not going to happen because
not this way.
Everyone going to work for the FAA or electric boat. But if you yourself are in a place, you can move yourself and your family out of poverty. For poverty to be eradicated, that's unfortunately.
But for hundreds of people that you see, rural America, inner cities, mostly, that's out of work, underemployed, making little to no income.
They're trapped in poverty.
Yeah, they don't either know about these occupations or they're just not equipped to even do it if they know about it.
No, I lean toward the latter. I would lean toward the latter. There's a lot of people who are not capable. Let me rephrase that. There are a lot of people who are not necessarily readily employable.
Right.
And it's a vicious circle. The more you need people and can't get them, the more you find other ways to get the job done. And once you have those ways in place, you'll never need the people again.
Mm-hmm.
So as technology increases, as AI comes more online, you have less and less of a need for people. So now you have like a minimum, what do you call it? Minimum sustainable income.
Yeah, I remember that minimum. I always forget that.
Yeah,
that terminology. Minimum basic income or something like that.
Minimum basic income, a welfare assistance program on steroids. But you have to take care of people.
Right.
People need to eat. They need to be, feel as though they can contribute. You're seeing this paradigm shift happening now in America and around the world. You need less people to manufacture and produce. So they're going to have a shift or change in how people get the means to sustain themselves. And the thinkers and policy setters on the global stage are trying to figure that out now.
And then also keep in mind, it would be easier for unskilled, unemployable people to learn how to become a sanitation worker or a warehouse worker than an air traffic controller and a police officer. You don't? Oh, no.
No. It depends on the aptitude of the person. It's a matter of how much time you want to spend. If you don't want to spend a lot of time training, then you take the job that has the least requirements for training.
Okay.
Other things might take 18 months.
Right.
And they're only going to take the top 40 out of the 400. So you really have to work hard. Anyone can attain a level of understanding if they put forth the effort. How many people want to put forth that effort? A lot of people don't want to.
That's the problem. They don't. People,
and that's an individual problem. You can't eradicate that out of society because a lot of people don't want to do nothing.
Yeah.
Which is their right. So they make a conscious decision to deal with that choice.
No, but if you break down and say, and you talk to a poor person that has $100 a week money, and believe me, there's people out there on our streets that has less than that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, $100 a week, and then you have some type of job fair, and you break down, okay, if you want to become a police officer, you want to become an air traffic controller.
Those individuals are probably not going to be at the top of the list of the most employable folks for police officer and air traffic controller in that they have less than $100 to live on a week on the street. That just you can go from here to there. In fact, some of these people may have been air traffic controllers at one time. Had a family crisis, crashed because of the stress, walked away from the job, started drinking, got caught up in some sort of chemical dependency, and now they're on the street surviving on $100 a week. Yeah. Everyone that's here, and they're not less human. There's a story as to why they're here. And unpacking and understanding those stories is what's necessary in order to help restore them. But the society's not trying to help restore them. So it's a deeper conversation than we can have.
That's why you said you're not going to eradicate poverty through air traffic and city government jobs.
No, there aren't enough of those jobs. There are millions of people trapped in poverty.
Okay.
And
so just because city government jobs are directly in your city and you would have easy access, even if you don't have a car, to catch the bus to go down to City Hall.
Everyone that should be applying for those jobs, but those jobs aren't poverty mitigation programs.
Okay.
They're a need to do the work.
Right. And you'll get compensated a good salary.
Yes, this is a great opportunity for you to have a career, not for the eradication of poverty.
Okay. Well, that's a good clarification then, because people can be naive to think, well, you got a high unemployment problem or underemployment problem.
Yeah, everyone just go work
downtown for City Hall. But it's not that simple.
There's not that many jobs. There's a lot more than 300 people in Hartford unemployed.
Unemployed, exactly.
So if you filled them all, it wouldn't make it wouldn't.
Yeah. So there's no need for the job funnels to emphasize. Well, I guess the job funnels have to emphasize certain jobs towards availability.
Well, the job funnels that's a whole nother subject for another day.
Okay. Well, this was mostly about talking about city employees' salaries.
Yeah, city employees. We have more than 300 young people who will need jobs this summer.
Right.
Just in summer youth employment. A lot of the kids that'll be involved in summer youth employment's money will help supplement their family's income.
Okay.
because they are trapped in a cycle of poverty.
Yeah.
And they maybe one of the primary people bringing extra cash into the house. Yeah. So when you have a poor city such as Hartford, these are some of the dynamics you have to work with. I only say that really to say that all the jobs that the municipal government has available in the city of Hartford are not going to push back poverty.
Oh, okay.
And the jobs aren't available to push back poverty. The jobs are available to help the city function.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it won't even put a dent in poverty. Like you said, you have to have a multitude of jobs.
Right. In fact, poverty in Hartford is one of the reasons why there are so many openings. Because you have to fund those jobs. They don't have in some of these cases, the funding for the position isn't there, which is why it's open.
Okay.
Some of them, they can't find people. Others, they don't have the fiscal resources because the taxpayers aren't there. We have more people pulling out than contributing.
Yeah.
So if they're taking money out in services and programs, well, who's paying for that? People outside of Hartford. So Hartford's not sustained by itself. That's why it's not in charge of itself, because it's not sustained by it. It doesn't police itself. It doesn't educate itself. And it doesn't financially sustain itself. That's all done by outsiders. And that's why outsiders run your city.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a vicious cycle that's been going on for a long time. And, okay, well, I just thought that was something I wanted to throw out there. I appreciate being able to discuss it, learning a few things about it. And if you know anybody, Stan, that's looking for a good career, keep in mind.
I will absolutely point them to those two jobs.
Yeah.
Or two arenas. Air traffic control and working for the greatest city on earth, Hartford, Connecticut, New England's rising star. Yeah. All right, we're out of time.
Okay.
So Jonathan Small's here every Tuesday at 10 for his segment, and Cleo's here at 9 for hers, and then Nyesha's here in the morning at 8. With Civic Beat. So my friends, we're out of time. We will see you all next time. So you all stick and stay at 11 o'clock. It's Face to Face with Jonathan Small. You all have a blessed rest of your day. Ciao, ciao.